high-performance healthcare that empowers clinicians with decision support tools to ensure the highest quality of care for their patients. Executive Director Nathan Buzzer has 25 years experience in the software, electronics and medical tech field. He founded clinical middleware provider Comtech Wireless in 1992, grew this business into a successful multinational with offices in Perth, Sydney, Jacksonville, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Denmark and London, deploying the technology across 8,000 locations worldwide. In 2006, his accomplishments were recognised by Ernst & Young, where he was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year, as well as the Western Australian IT&T Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to the IT community. Please welcome Nathan Buzzer.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It's been an absolutely riveting past few days with the Techknow conference, both in Melbourne and Sydney. So today I'd like to talk to you about my venture capital firm has LCA investments but the one that I'm personally most excited about is LCM. I've been involved in the digital health spectrum for all of my professional career. My business prior to this was Azure Healthcare, where we took that business as the second largest shareholder. We went from 3.5 cents to 47 cents, generating just over $100 million worth of wealth for the shareholders. My business prior to that was Comtech Wireless, privately held business. We deployed technology to 8,000 locations in 53 countries. I divested that business. Fundamentally, the healthcare system is broken. Last year in the United States, the US government spent $3 trillion on healthcare. That's 17.8% of GDP. That scary statistic is even worse because the federal government in the state is predicting it to go to 37% of GDP by 2050. The third largest killer of people on the planet, a report released 2 months ago, is preventable errors in hospitals. That's scary. So number one is cardiovascular disease, then oncology, and the third largest killer is errors being made in hospitals. 40% of the lab tests that get ordered in an acute care hospital are never viewed by anyone. 18% of those are critical results. So when the Obama administration gained power, they introduced the Patient Care Protection and Affordability Act, Obamacare, and then they introduced the Health Information Technology Act as the last saving grace to try to resolve this quantum of healthcare. That act, the HITECH Act, mandates that all 8,000 hospitals in the United States, by law, must upgrade their clinical information systems. So there's a huge level of expenditure going in. If hospitals fail to make progression to what they call the EMR adoption model, punitive damages kicked in this year, so Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements are gradually reduced for hospitals that do not adhere to upgrading clinical information systems. The point I'm trying to convey at this point is the stars are aligning for digital health. In 25 years in this space, I've never seen the perfect storm. We've had government stimulus funding being provided. Queensland government just in October of last year allocated $1.3 billion to renew all the information systems across Queensland Health. 2 months ago, Northern Territory allocated $186 million. So all the developed nations in the world are trying to resolve this quantum of health, and technology is the only way that's going to save it. Because if technology fails to streamline healthcare, then God help us. What are we going to do? We've got to take money from education, we've got to take money from defence to fund healthcare, or are we just going to be prepared to accept a substandard healthcare environment? This is what is driving the stimulus in the space, and why we've seen companies, such as my fellow director, Brian Lee, at Red Hat, now they've gone from a $5 million market cap to a $340 million market cap on the back of this exciting area. Additionally, FDA have been sitting on the sidelines to regulate this segment. So despite having stimulus funding for the space, despite having the motivation to do it, without the regulatory body saying what is the status of software, the hospital's hesitant to spend money. They recently ruled what they call the MDDS legislation, Medical Data and Device legislation. So now the hospitals have a clarity on what systems they can deploy and what needs to be regulated. So very, very exciting. I'd like to play a video for a moment from an award that Alcidion won last year for the Impact Awards.
How safe are you in a hospital? Globally, in the Western world, healthcare services struggle to cope with a massive increase in patients. But patients also have more complex needs for treatment. This is driven by rapidly aging populations and the prevalence of chronic diseases. Clinicians are deluged with data about patients from multiple systems and sources, and they lack the tools to cope. Did you know that your care is still managed and tracked with pen and paper? Even though technology has created new levels of diagnosis and treatment, it has also caused new levels of complexity and workload for clinical staff. Coupled with global health trends such as obesity, overwhelming healthcare systems, you have a perfect storm for errors. Patients receive the wrong treatment or don't receive treatment. Their test results are lost. In fact, 40% of hospital tests are never looked at. Medication can be wrongly administered, given to the wrong person, or the wrong medication is given. This is why there are 12,000 preventable deaths per year in Australia, 44,000 in the UK, and the numbers scale the same in other places around the world. The number of people harmed while in care is enormous. Founded by Ray Blight, a former chief executive of the South Australian Health Commission, and Malcolm Pradhan, a Stanford PhD and former director of health informatics at the University of Adelaide. Their relentless drive to prevent harm has created the world's first real-time intelligent decision support system, purpose-built to meet the demands of global healthcare. Alcidion's technology platform, Maya, provides clinicians with the right tools by presenting the right information at the right time, making it easy for clinicians to manage larger and more complex caseloads. Alcidion is eliminating data deluge from clinical practice, and so clinicians can focus on patient care, thus reducing errors and harm. Used by leading healthcare services in Victoria, Northern Territory, Tasmania, Western Australia and New Zealand, with OEM partners Fujifilm and Vaportrail, Alcidion's healthcare technology is making care safer for patients and less stressful for clinicians. In the words of customers at Western Health Hospital, here's the benefits delivered.
It's been extremely beneficial from my point of view. We're able to see patient information more interactively. We're also able to pull up blood results, x-ray results on ward rounds and doctor's rounds without having to leave, so it's given us a little bit of time back. It's made things more transparent. We can certainly see the patient journey in front of us. It's made it more visual. The system assists in safe and effective patient care.
That integrates all of the disparate systems in a healthcare organisation into one ubiquitous platform. It takes data feeds in from the pathology department, from the emergency department information system, from the patient admission system, from the electronic medical records. And there's a huge list of these clinical systems that don't necessarily talk to one another. So the physicians need to go to multiple sources and don't have one central source of truth. So Alcidion integrates all those into one platform that identifies the emerging clinical risk of the patient. So we're looking for trends where that poses a risk to the patient. And then we provide recommendations to the clinicians on how best to manage the care of that patient based upon the Royal College of Australian Pathologists and the Royal College of Emergency Physicians guidelines on how to treat them. So as you see, Professor Tisoriati, there's skyrocketed the efficiency in patient care as well as the safety. So this is our luminary site of Western Health. That they just transitioned the product from what they call an innovation area into commercial production on July 1st and into a $2.35 million contract with us as an annuity to use our software platform. There's 3 hospitals out of the 800 hospitals in Australia. There's 8,000 hospitals in North America. As Jason states, I see nearly all of the clinical, executive, and divisional directors walking around with iPad minis with all of the patient data that they have sitting on that device. So off that device, you can look at the imaging, the MRIs and the CAT scans, you can look at the pathology results, anything which is abnormal that's being highlighted, you can just click on it to drill down for more details. So the first rule for investing, and as an owner of a private equity firm, I always back management team first and foremost. And this is the thing that really attracted me to our city as an investor. I got a phone call from Oz Industry asking if I was prepared to put my money in to partially back a R&D grant that our city had applied for. And the first thing that struck me is that we had Ray Wright, who's the former Chief Executive of the South Australian Health Commission, formerly the CIO of the South Australian Health Commission, and Professor Malcolm Padan, medical doctor with a PhD in medical informatics from Stanford University. Malcolm also held the title of Associate Professor of Medical Informatics at the University of South Australia, and also on the clinical lead for the Australian Government's National Electronic Health Records Transition Authority. So just really impeccably qualified individuals and motivated, not financially, but motivated because they're so passionate to resolve health. This is the pinnacle of Ray's career, and this is what gets him up every single morning. He just wants to fix healthcare. He wants this to be his legacy. You can't get stronger motivation than that. I'm joined today with my fellow director, Mr. Brian Legan. So Brian was the co-founder of ResApp Health. As I mentioned before, ResApp's gone from I think it was $5 million to $340 million over the past 12 months. And very much on the back of this digital health for all the conditions I previously described. Another one, Blue Sky Private Equity. They're a Queensland-based business. They're listed on the ASX. They have $1.7 billion under management. When Alcidian did their Series A round of finance, Blue Sky took up the entirety of that Series A round of finance for venture capital, and in the Series B round, Blue Sky and my private equity firm, Allure Capital, they took a 50-50 of the Series B round. So what exactly does the business do? Well, as I touched on, you've got all these disparate systems, and traditionally the clinicians need to go to those multiple systems to gain an overview of what's happening with the patient. So I'll give you an example. If someone's got a suspected heart attack, I need to order a full blood examination and see if troponins are elevated or not. Right? If the troponin is elevated, then I know, well, I now have a look at what's the damage to the heart muscle. I need to order an MRI or a CAT scan or perhaps an angiogram. So Alcidian will take that data, consolidate it, and then access it from a single platform. Another part is what we call our best practice order sets. So traditionally you raise a pathology order or imaging order, you do that through writing out a script. But it's a very manual process. You give that script across to the nurse and she'll draw the blood, send it down to pathology, they'll print the result out, then put it in a pigeonhole. We do all of that electronically. And we know what's happening with that pathology result. We'll spot any abnormal result and push that to the members of the care team and make sure the right person looks at it. Right? So I mentioned before, 40% of lab results not being viewed by anyone, 18% of those being critical. Alcidian ensures that never happens. We have a missed results tracker. If there's a critical result that comes through, we make sure that the right person, the right discipline, witnesses that result. We deploy the technology into the Northern Territory. It's a target called a NEAT target, national